This is Live Bet Sunday on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Coming to you from the Circus Sportsbook here in downtown Las Vegas. I'm Scott Seidenberg. It's Live Bet Sunday here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. You can follow along on Twitter at ScottsOnAir, ScottsOnair. Hit us all up on the network at VSiN Live. We have playoff games to track, including ones that get started momentarily in the NBA. We're going to jump things off with a best bet that you have to act quickly to get this in. The Celtics take on the Orlando Magic in Orlando. This is Game 4 of this Eastern Conference first-round series where the Celtics took the first 2 games at home. The Magic won Game 3. So we have a Celtics team coming off of a loss. And this season, it has been a cash cow. After a loss this season, the Celtics bounce back to go 19-2 straight up, 17-4 against the spread, and most notable about those games is the 17-4, not just the ATS record, but 17-4 is also the record for the opponent's team total to go under. And so, the best bet for the game that is tipping off in less than 5 minutes. Open up your apps, get to the window, get ready, load up, fire on this bet. Orlando Magic team total under 95.5. That should be minus 110 based on your sports book. If your book's got 96.5, all the more power to you. But we go under the Orlando Magic team total here in this game because of how the Celtics have responded all season long after a loss. This spread has gotten taxed, so I wouldn't sign off on, laying the points right now with Boston, even though it is an absolutely incredible ATS stretch here. 17-4, as I mentioned, the same record as we're giving out the opponent's team total to go under. 7.5 to 8 might be a little too rich for my blood right now, considering that last night you could have gotten this at minus 5. You could have gotten it at maybe minus 6, 6.5. 7.5 to 8 might be a bit too much, but the best bet, the Magic team total to go under 95.5, or if your sportsbook offers a different price, absolutely fantastic. Again, moments away from tip-off in Orlando, Game 3 between the Magic and the Celtics. And how important is this? Well, they talked about it in Game 3 earlier between the New York Knicks and the Detroit Pistons. The teams that take a 3-1 series lead, they go on to win 95% of the time in their postseason series. And so we have the Knicks with a 3-1 lead over the Pistons after a 94-93 win here earlier today. That game went under. Early NBA start times, we go under. 1 o'clock Eastern time playoff games, under. 4-0 this year, 15-2 going back to 2021. The Timberwolves beat the Lakers 116-113. So now Minnesota leads 3-1. And the Boston Celtics will look to go up 3-1 here over the Orlando Magic. I believe they do so. I like the Celtics. No, I love the Celtics to win this game. If you are a heavy money line bettor, I'm not going to stop you. But the best bet, once again, and this game is about to tip off, the best bet is the Orlando Magic team total to go under 95.5. Make sure you place that bet. Get it in ASAP as this game is about to tip off. I'm Scott Seidenberg. This is Live Bet Sunday here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. We are also keeping an eye on what's going on the ice. The Stanley Cup Playoffs continue. 1 game in progress right now. The Washington Capitals, who have a 2-1 series lead over the Montreal Canadiens. They are tied right now in Montreal. The Capitals took the first 2 games on home ice, and Montreal winning in Game 3 on their home ice. And a lot of extracurricular activity in that game 3. Featured, a lot of fights, a lot of after the whistle punches thrown and helmets grabbed and sticks grabbed. And yeah, there was a lot going on. This game, very important for the series. Obviously a 3-1 lead, completely different than a 2-2 split, because as they say, the old cliche, a series doesn't truly begin until a team loses a home game. Well, right now, I lean towards the Capitals in this spot before the game. I didn't bet anything on this game. I actually wanted to do like a Canadiens and Kings plus 1.5 parlay, just because I think that both these games are going to be close. I did not think that about the earlier games. The Blues defeated the Jets 5-1. I didn't see that coming. That was a complete stay away spot for me because I didn't know what to expect in that game. But the Hurricanes over the Devils were one of my favorite bets of the day. New Jersey blew a 2-0 lead in game number 3. They were able to win in double overtime. And so they got some momentum in this series, right? They lost the first 2 games in Carolina, but they got the situational spot, willed them to a win in game 3 in double overtime. But now in game 4, this is where the talent outweighs it. This is where the better team comes through. And Carolina, the much better team in this series, and the Devils are just too banged up, frankly, because they were without Luke Hughes on the blue line, and he's been out a couple of games already. They've been without Brandon Dillon, who's been out a few, who missed the last game as well. And then in the last game, they lose another defenseman in Johnny Kovacevic. So you're without 3 top defensemen on your blue line. I just didn't see the Devils competing in this game. Give them credit because they were down 3-0 and came back to make it 3-2. But then they couldn't get the equalizer. Empty nets come into play, and it's a 5-2 final. The Hurricanes win. But right now, we are scoreless with 6 minutes to go in the first period in Montreal between the Canadiens and the Capitals. And coming up a little bit later on this evening, we have the Kings and the Oilers from Edmonton, where the Oilers were down 2-0. And then they bounced back and won Game 3 7-4, thanks to, honestly, a really boneheaded coaching decision by the LA Kings and their head coach, Jim Hiller. I didn't understand what he was trying to do in that third period. So those who are not aware, this is what happened in that Kings game that led to the Oilers not just winning, but covering a puck line as well. This was a back and forth game in which the Oilers led 2-0, then were down 3-2. They go up 4-3 before allowing the game-tying goal seconds later. Literally. Not even 10 seconds later. Or no, they were down 3-2. They tied it 3-3. Then they give up the go-ahead goal 10 seconds later. That's what it was. So it's 4-3 Kings. They are in the third period. And the Edmonton Oilers, the home team, playing with desperation, they score a goal to tie it at 4. Now, there's a lot of confusion as to whether or not the puck crossed the line. Was there any goaltender interference? The league had to review it. So the refs go to the headset. Toronto's on the other line. They're looking at the replays, and they determine, hey, after review, we have a good goal. Game is tied at 4. But the Kings call a timeout and decide to challenge the play. And this is why it makes no sense to me, because the league already just reviewed it. Now, I understand that when you challenge a play, you can look at more things, but the league already reviewed the play and determined it was a good goal. So they challenged it to see if there was any goaltender interference. The league then looks at it again, and they say, hey, just like last time, this is a good goal. And because they lost that challenge, they had to take a bench minor penalty. meaning the Oilers, after tying the game at 4, got to go on the power play. And 10 seconds into that power play, they took the 5-4 lead. Empty netters 1 and 2 in the final 2 minutes make it 6-4 and 7-4, and the Oilers win. I expect a bounce-back performance from the LA Kings tonight. In fact, like I said, I would lean like it's heavily juiced, but the Kings plus a goal and a half, like this could go into overtime. And Darcy Kemper's been one of the more disappointing goaltenders in this postseason compared to what he was during the regular season, but also it's his home road splits. We know he's great at home and he's not so great on the road. So it was a great fade spot in Game 3. Now that we have a second consecutive game in Edmonton, I think this is a bounce-back spot for Kemper. I think it's a bounce-back spot for the Los Angeles Kings. But we'll get more into that game coming up in just a little bit. Once again, no score between the Capitals and the Canadiens. There's 3 minutes to go in the first period, and we are heavily monitoring the Boston Celtics and Orlando Magic game because we want the Celtics to win. We got the Celtics, but more importantly, our best bet is on the Magic team total to go under 95.5. We'll update you on that game, plus the Major League Baseball scoreboard coming up next. I'm Scott Seidenberg, always on Twitter at Scott's On Air. You can hit us all up on the network at VSiN Live. We are locked and loaded right here on Live Bet Sunday on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
This is Live Bet Sunday on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Back here on Live Bet Sunday, I'm Scott Seidenberg on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. The craziest thing just happened in Major League Baseball as the San Francisco Giants have defeated the Texas Rangers on a walk-off, 3-2. But not your typical walk-off. No, it wasn't a walk-off home run or a walk-off walk. It was a walk-off error. Well, really 2 errors on the play. Iliot Ramos grounded to the pitcher. Like, literally, it was a swinging bunt. And the pitcher comes off the mound. I think it was Jackson on the mound for the Rangers. And he throws the ball away, past the first baseman into right field. So Ramos rounds first, and he's going for second. He realizes, well, no one's gotten the ball yet. So he runs to third. By the time the Rangers player grabs the ball and throws it to third base, he throws it away. Ramos gets up, goes home, and the Little League home run gives the Giants a 3-2 win over the Texas Rangers. Now, I've experienced some bad beats in my life, and I know I'm going to experience quite a few more. But if you had the Rangers in this game, and that's how you lost, because of a dribbler to the mound that gets thrown away not once, but twice, allowing the game-winning run to score, that's terrible. Then again, the Rangers scored 2 runs in the first inning and then nothing for the rest of the game, so you can't really complain, can you? We'll update you on the rest of the Major League Baseball scoreboard coming up. A quick look at what's going on between the Canadiens and the Capitals. We are still scoreless in the first period, as the first period is winding down, just less than a minute remaining in that first period. Again, no score between the Canadiens and the Capitals. We're going to get more into the NHL coming up in a few minutes. We're going to be joined by Jonny Lazarus. He hosts a variety of shows for NHL, Bleacher Report, Daily Faceoff. He'll join us coming up. We'll get back into Major League Baseball with our very own Greg Peterson. He hosts the Baseball Betting Podcast here on VSiN. Matt Moore from the Action Network will talk hoops with us. Munaf Manji from pregame.com will get his best bets as well on the NBA playoffs moving forward. And then back into the Stanley Cup with a look at some live betting angles for the late game tonight, and talk about the excitement in that Battle of Florida series with Kevin Rogers, the radio anchor for the Florida Panthers radio network. All coming up right here on Live Bet Sunday. Let's take a look at what's going on in progress right now in Major League Baseball. We are going to the top of the 7th inning in the Bronx. This is Game 2 of a doubleheader between the Yankees and the Blue Jays. Game 1 went an interesting way because the Yankees, they dominate 11-2. Max Fried does what he does, and this dude is a legit American League Cy Young candidate right now. 6 innings, 6 hits, 1 run allowed, only 3 strikeouts. The strikeout numbers aren't there yet, but Max Fried has been everything the Yankees have asked for and more. With the Garrett Cole injury kind of putting this cloud of uncertainty on top of the Yankees season, they needed their big offseason acquisition in Max Fried to come through for them. And he has delivered in every way possible, improving to 5-0 now on the season with a 1.43 ERA. Meanwhile, Kevin Gausman, a start to forget, as he doesn't make it out of the 3rd inning here. 2 2/3 innings, 3 hits, 6 runs allowed by Gausman, 5 walks, and 2 strikeouts. He threw 71 pitches. Yankees scoring 6 runs in that bottom of the 3rd inning. Yankees right now do lead 4-1, though, in the top of the 7th. Your live market right now has Yankees, if you want to lay minus 3.5 runs, you can get plus 3.5 at minus 166 up on DraftKings for the Blue Jays. Live total right now, 6.5, and it is juiced to the over at minus 130. Again, it is 4-1. Yankees leading the Blue Jays, top of the 7th. Game 2 of a doubleheader in the Bronx. And worth noting for the Yankees and the Blue Jays in this game, Devin Williams is not the closer now for the Yankees. It has not been a good start to the season for Devin Williams. So Max Fried has been great, and that was a fantastic, addition to the Yankees, but Devin Williams has not. And so the Yankees announcing that Devin Williams is not going to be the closer anymore. He was booed off the mound the other night. And so Luke Weaver is going to get his shot at closing. Weaver's pitched 13 innings this year and has yet to give up a run. 13 strikeouts this season for Luke Weaver. In 13 innings pitched, he has allowed 3 hits, 5 walks, and 13 strikeouts. So, if the save situation comes up, and right now it is a save situation, it's only the 7th inning, but it will be Weaver who comes in to close out this game, not Devin Williams. And you wonder, is that a positive for the Yankees because how dominant Weaver has been and the question marks surrounding Devin Williams? Or does it give you a little bit of, pause because it's not the familiar role right now? It's going to be the first time this season that he's coming and trying this role here. So it's something to keep an eye on as we move towards the latter part of this game, understanding that it will be Weaver in his first time on the mound as the newly appointed Yankee closer, if you will. And speaking of Kevin Gausman, by the way, I mentioned it was not a good outing for him. He was tossed from the game. So he was yelling at the umpire, about all those walks, I assume that's what he was yelling at. Also, manager John Schneider got ejected as well from that first game. So John Schneider tossed after arguing a strike call, and Gausman tossed for arguing the strike zone with the umpire. Can't argue with the umpire. What more can you say? 4-1 Yankees, top of the 7th there in the Bronx. Elsewhere in progress, they're going to the bottom of the first inning they're in the bottom of the first in Chicago. Sunday Night Baseball between the Cubs and the Phillies is scoreless. Philadelphia snapping their losing streak yesterday with a 10-4 win over the Cubs. And I'm a little disappointed in this game because there's no Sunday Night Fade tomorrow. So far this season, we have done great, fading the teams on Sunday Night Baseball that have to then travel for a game the next day. 4-0 this year is the Sunday Night Fade. But the Cubs and Phillies are both off tomorrow. So no Sunday Night Fade for us on your Monday Major League Baseball schedule. Let's get back to what's going on in the postseason games. First intermission on the ice. No score between Montreal and Washington. And, of course, we're going to talk with Jonny Lazarus from Daily Faceoff, NHL, Bleacher Report, a couple other outlets as well. Johnny will join us in about 10 minutes from now as we'll get his thoughts on the Stanley Cup playoffs. And looking at our best bet with the team total to go under for the Orlando Magic. Well, there's less than 3 minutes to go in the first quarter, and right now the Celtics have a 23-20 lead over the Magic. 2:53 to go in the first quarter. We just want to see two things. The clock continue to tick down, right? Tick, 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 tick. Just burn those seconds off the clock. And the other thing we want to see is the basketball not go in the hoop for the Orlando Magic. I don't want to see free throw attempts. I just want to see bricks, and I want to see the time ticking away. But 23-20, 2:53 to go in the first quarter. Your live line, Celtics minus 8.5. Your live total, 205.5. When this game closed, the Celtics were an 8-point favorite here at Circa with a total of 199. There was a 200 on the board, but for the most part, 198.5, 199, and then we're looking at the 8, 7.5, 8, 8, 8, mostly across the board here. So once again, your live line, Celtics minus 8.5, and a total of 205.5. Want to tell you guys about Edge Boost, the first ever bank account for bettors, ensuring that all gambling transactions are approved. No usage fees, no minimums. You can earn cash back rewards, plus 100% approval for all betting deposits. Sign up today at edgeboost.bet with promo code LIVE. Deposit $25, and Edge Boost will match the deposit. That's edgeboost.bet. Jonny Lazarus from Daily Faceoff joins me, Scott Seidenberg, next, right here on Live Bet Sunday on VSiN.
This is Live Bet Sunday on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Back here on Live Bet Sunday, I'm Scott Seidenberg here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Keeping an eye on what's going on in the NBA playoffs. 28-22. Celtics lead the Magic with 1:44 to go in the first quarter. I'd really love for no more scoring from the Magic here in this quarter because, again, our best bet, Orlando team total under 95.5. No score between the Canadiens and the Capitals. It is Game 3 of their Eastern Conference first round series. To talk more about the Stanley Cup playoffs, we welcome into the progressive guest line Jonny Lazarus, who you see and hear across a variety of networks, NHL, Daily Faceoff, Bleacher Report. Always a pleasure having you on, Johnny. And let's talk about this game in progress. Capitals, Canadiens, some fireworks in game number 2. Do you think it's kind of spilled over here into game number 3, scoreless after one period?
Not as much as I thought it would, to be honest, Scott. If you saw the broadcast prior to the puck drop, they showed a lot of antics that went down in warm-up. Arbor Jackeye being the guy that probably led the charge in that sense. But obviously the players understand what happens at the end of that game doesn't always carry over into the next game in a playoff series. In the regular season, it's a little bit different because guys want to take a shot at somebody who took a cheap shot at them the game before. But these guys know this time of year, getting that win is what matters the most. So Montreal right now, they got themselves back into that series with a huge 6-3 win in Game 3, and they know what's at stake tonight. They don't want to go down 3-1 in a series, having to go back to Washington, D.C. So while they do want to play up to the physical level of the Washington Capitals, because in the first 2 or so games, I thought the Capitals were a much more physical team, and you saw the immaturity a little bit in Montreal's game because they are younger, they are smaller, they are a little bit less experienced, and playoff hockey is a different animal, and most guys will tell you that. But in that first period, I thought Montreal played pretty toe-to-toe with Washington, and now it's about keeping the composure, and whichever team can maintain that throughout the next 40 minutes, I think will come out on top. I do like the Capitals in this game, that said, but Dobish has had a pretty good start to this game too, with a lot of pressure on him, with some high expectations as well. So for a backup goalie to come into a playoff series in Game 4 is not an easy task, but he's held his own so far in the first.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, should they somehow come out victorious in this game without Montembeault, and again, we don't know, it's day to day, but who knows what happened, the NHL when it comes to injury reporting and whatnot. If Montembeault can't come back or can't be 100%, can Montreal pull an upset in this series?
It's hard to say. Dobish had a pretty good regular season for, a rookie season. But obviously with that lack of experience, it's not a guy that you feel comfortable betting on, right? So
yep.
I've seen crazier, though. I think back to my own experience covering the Rangers-Devils series 2 years ago. The Devils went down 2-0, lost both games at home. And then they turned to Akira Schmid, who came in and changed the entire course of that series. Whether you want to say it was all him or the Devils actually waking up in front of him, that argument can be made. But Akira Schmid, to me, was the difference maker. The Devils took both games on the road. They took 3 games in a row and ended up winning that series in 7 games. So with playoff hockey, you really never know, right? Like we watched the game earlier this afternoon at 1 o'clock. Connor Hellebuck, who's been known to be the best goalie in the NHL, gets yanked for the second straight game. So storylines are always different come playoff time. Like usually you want the team that has more experience, but sometimes it's just you're caught by surprise, honestly, and that's the beauty of the NHL or the Stanley Cup playoffs because, sometimes things come out of nowhere.
Thanks for reminding me about that Rangers loss. You want to rub it in my face more and tell me about how they won the President's Trophy last year and didn't make the playoffs this year? I mean, you want to just kick dirt on it? I mean,
I'm a Ranger guy too, so it hurts just as much for me. I don't like saying it, but it's the only thing I can think of.
No, it's a good comparison here. And yeah, you mentioned Hellebuck. Very confusing as someone who has a Winnipeg Jets Stanley Cup ticket, not liking what I saw in the 2 games there in St. Louis. Can this team bounce back at home? I'd like to think so, just because of the energy that we saw in that building in games 1 and 2. Who do you like now with the series tied at 2 games apiece to come out of this series?
So I actually had St. Louis before the series started.
Okay.
So I feel great about that right now. But that said, like I said before, Scott, I really do believe that things don't go from game to game in the playoffs. It's a clean slate going into Game 5. If you told Winnipeg right now they'd be tied 2-2 with home ice advantage, they wouldn't care what the result was. They'd feel good about where they are right now. So I think the conversations tomorrow across every single NHL podcast, show, network, you're going to hear it. Will they start Connor McDavid in Game 5? And I think it'd be foolish for them to turn to Eric Comrie. Connor Hellebuck, whether you like it or not, he's your guy. And he's the guy you pay $8.5 million for, a guy who can take the heat for 2 games and come back and have a strong response. And he's been much better at home than he has been on the road. The numbers will show that. And like you mentioned, in Game 1 and Game 2, they looked like a much different team on the road. But that said, too, in today's game, I thought the Winnipeg Jets were a better team. They just didn't get the saves. Game 3, St. Louis came out right from the puck drop and beat the crap out of them. And you kind of knew that St. Louis was going to win that game. But today I watched that first period and I was like, Winnipeg's going to find a way to pull this out. I could have never have guessed it would have turned into the game it turned into. But I do believe that Connor Hellebuck will start Game 5. I do believe that Winnipeg is not out of this series yet. I do think that the home team will actually win the next 2 games. Then we'll see a Game 7, and you never know what can happen in a Game 7. But with the way this series has trended, I don't think that's even a hot take. Binnington's been really good, but St. Louis's offense hasn't been able to come through in the big moments on the road in that tough Winnipeg barn. So, right now I do think it's going to continue with the trend that we've seen so far, both home teams winning, and then you never know what can happen in a Game 7. But I'd be very surprised if Connor Hellebuck does not start in Game 5.
Jonny Lazarus joining us on the Progressive Guest Line, talking Stanley Cup Playoffs here on Live Bet Sunday with me, Scott Seidenberg, here on VSiN. You catch Johnny across a variety of networks, Daily Faceoff. You catch his stuff on Bleacher Report, has some picks on covers as well. You're all over the place, Johnny, but it's great because we love the sport and we appreciate the content. as far as tonight's game is concerned, Kings and Oilers. I talked about it when I was on the air on Friday during that game. I talked about it earlier in this show. The decision to challenge that goal by Jim Hiller was just mind-boggling, right? You lost your team the game by challenging a goal that the league had already reviewed and determined was a good goal. And for those who, a reminder, the game-tying goal that made it 4-4, they reviewed it, they determined it was a good goal, the Kings challenged it, lost the challenge, had to take a bench minor. 10 seconds later, Oilers take the lead on the power play. So now the series is 2-1. But you mentioned it before. Things don't exactly transfer over from game to game. Darcy Kemper's a guy who, Vezina finalist this year, second best goaltender in the world behind Hellebuck this year. On home ice, otherworldly, if you look at his numbers. He's been disappointing here in this postseason. I think we get a bounce-back performance by Kemper tonight. Do you agree with me, and do you consider it to be a hot take, to go against the Oilers tonight? Even though they won at home, they have the momentum now. I like the Kings to get a bounce-back win tonight on the road.
I agree. I like the Kings as well. I think the hot take would be if you said you're taking the under.
Okay.
Because there's been 30 goals in 3 games. I mean, anyone who takes the under has a lot of courage and much more courage than I do. I like the Kings tonight as well. But here's the one thing that does concern me a little bit because, I know I've been saying, this thing now 3 times that things don't carry over game to game. But the one area that scares me, which could carry over, is the Oilers' power play finally getting on the board after being held off the score sheet in the first 2 games. They go 2 for 2, both goals by Evan Bouchard in Game 3. And Edmonton's power play, as anyone who watches hockey knows, is probably the most dangerous power play when it's firing in the entire NHL. So if they're feeling good about their man advantage right now, that could be the difference maker in this game, and that's what would scare me if I'm backing Darcy Kemper right now in net for LA. So if the Kings can stay disciplined, which they pretty much have for the most part of this series, they should be fine. I do trust Kemper over Calvin Pickard right now, and Pickard's actually a friend, so I feel bad saying that. But, with the way that their careers have gone and just the way the season has gone for both respective goalies, and honestly, it's not even about the goaltending for Edmonton. It's about the way their defense manages the puck. So many turnovers in their own zone, which led to the LA offense, producing. And LA's power play has been right up there as well. I think their power play is actually north of 50% right now in this series, which is nuts. Edmonton penalty kill being at like 41%. So there's a lot of different factors that can go any sort of way in this game. I actually think it's safer to take LA on the road tonight, though, even though Edmonton has a really, really tough home environment to play in. But I like the Kings. I'm taking the Kings as well in this game, and I'm also taking the over just because I can't trust Edmonton's decor with the puck right now, and I can't trust either goalie.
All right, we like it. Kings and the over tonight. Johnny, appreciate the time and the insight. We'll be following along. Good luck with your bets.
Thanks, Scott. Appreciate it.
There he is, Jonny Lazarus. Again, checking his stuff out all over the place. Daily Faceoff, NHL, Bleacher Report. Hit him up on Twitter at JLazzy23. I'm Scott Seidenberg. It's Live Bet Sunday here on VSiN. We are into the second period now between the Canadiens and the Capitals, and we are scoreless through the first minute or so. So we feel, nothing going on there. We'll keep an eye on that, see if there's a bet to be made after the second intermission if we like something going into the third period. Meanwhile, a scoring barrage for the Magic at the end of the first quarter. As I was given the last update, they only had 22 points, and they finished the quarter with 29. They hit a bunch of shots there right at the end of the quarter. 35-31, Celtics leading the Magic with about 10 minutes to go in the first half. This is Live Bet Sunday right here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
This is Live Bet Sunday on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Back here on Live Bet Sunday, I'm Scott Seidenberg here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. We have a goal in Montreal. The Capitals have taken a 1-0 lead over the Canadiens. Dylan Strome scoring his second goal of these playoffs, as with 15 minutes to go in the second period, it is a 1-0 lead for the Washington Capitals with that 2-1 series lead. Your live total in this game right now is 4.5, juiced heavily, -175 to the over. If you believe the Canadiens to come back and win, you can get it at +230 right now. Canadiens plus a goal and a half is -135. Capitals minus a goal and a half is at +105. NBA checking out the score in this Celtics game against the Magic. Right now, it is a Celtics lead 37-31 with 9:26 to go in the first half. I mentioned there was like a lot of scoring at the end of the first quarter for the Orlando Magic. 7 points in the final minute of that first quarter, including a buzzer beater layup to get the final points of the quarter and a three-pointer as well. So that's how that went down. But 37-31 right now with 9 minutes to go in the first half, hoping that this just slows down for Orlando and their team total stays low. We don't want scoring from the Orlando Magic. Taking a look at what's going on in Major League Baseball, we had the Yankees-Blue Jays second game of the doubleheader underway, as well as the Sunday night baseball game between the Phillies and the Cubs, and they are going to the top of the third inning there at Wrigley, with the Cubs having a 1-0 lead over Philadelphia. The run scoring Pete Crow Armstrong with a double, scoring Nico Horner. Pete Crow Armstrong has just been incredible this season for the Chicago Cubs. Meanwhile, in that Yankee game against the Blue Jays, they're in the bottom of the eighth inning in the Bronx. It is a 4-1 lead for the Yankees, so it is going to be a save situation. And again, Devin Williams is no longer the closer for the Yankees. Luke Weaver will get his shot at being the Yankee closer. So as this game heads to the top of the ninth inning, assuming we don't get any more runs from the Yankees and this winds up being a save situation, it is going to be Luke Weaver who gets the bump on the mound. Here was the quote from Yankee manager Aaron Boone earlier on the decision to remove Devin Williams from this role. Quote, "The good news for Devin is he has everything to get through this and come out better from the other side. That's my expectation. Right now, it's best for everyone to pull him out of that role and try to start building some good rhythm, confidence, and momentum. I fully expect him to be a central figure for us moving forward," end quote. So, Aaron Boone saying all the right things, trying to give confidence to his guy, but there's no denying that a player that the Yankees sought after this offseason, tried to acquire and gave up, some assets and bring in as their new closer, letting Clay Holmes leave and become a starter with the New York Mets. There's no denying that Devin Williams has been a disappointment for the Yankees. He has an 11.25 ERA. 11.25 ERA. In 8 innings pitched, Devin Williams has allowed 12 runs on 12 hits, 7 walks to go along with 8 strikeouts. You can't have that guy losing you games in the back end of your bullpen. You just can't. It is the definition of a liability. But right now the Yankees have a chance. Well, not anymore because Volpe just got caught stealing. But I was going to say, with a runner on first, the Yankees have a chance to extend this lead, get out of a save situation, and give a little breathing room for their newly appointed closer. But not the case, as it looks like Volpe got caught stealing here. So 4-1 Yankees, 1 out, now 2 outs, bottom of the 8th inning. And we'll keep an eye on the situation there in the Bronx. If you want to look at any live betting opportunities, we have the Yankees minus 2.5 at minus 500. Absolutely absurd price there. Blue Jays plus 2.5, though, at plus 340. If you think the Blue Jays scratch across a run in the top of the 9th inning, plus 2.5 is plus 340. Your total right now, 5.5, is minus 315 to the under, plus 230 to the over. If you think the Blue Jays score a run in the ninth, that's the plus 230 price. But if you think they score a run in the ninth, just take the plus 2.5 at plus 340, which right now you can get, assuming the Yankees don't score a run here with 2 outs in the bottom of the 8th inning. Now, if you think the Blue Jays are going to come back and win this game, you can get 35-1 on them to come back and win top of the 9th inning. Something to maybe sprinkle on if you think that you don't trust the new bullpen situation there for the New York Yankees. Wow. Okay. Well, I just said that the total was 5.5, and you could take the over if you thought that the Blue Jays were going to score a run, but instead just take the plus 2.5 if you think that the Blue Jays were going to score a run, unless the Yankees scored with 2 outs in the bottom of the 8th inning. Well, the Yankees did score with 2 outs in the bottom of the 8th inning. J.C. Escara homers in the bottom of the 8th inning off of former Yankee Chad Green, as the Yankees' 4-1 lead has now turned into a 5-1 lead, and it is no longer a save situation in the Bronx. So a little bit of a cushion now with a 4-run lead for the Yankees going to what will eventually be the top of the 9th inning. Again, still 2 outs there, bottom of the 8th, as Osvaldo Cabrera will come to the plate for the Yankees. Fascinating stuff here, and we'll see what happens with this top of the 9th inning. But that run, a very pivotal insurance run for the New York Yankees, especially, as I mentioned before, given their new bullpen situation. I'm Scott Seidenberg. You can hit me up on Twitter at ScottsOnAir, ScottsOnair. Going back to the ice, it is still a 1-0 lead for the Capitals over the Canadiens with 13 minutes to go in that second period. Going to evaluate things after this period concludes to see if there's a bet we want to make going into the third period. As we talked earlier with Jonny Lazarus, no Sam Montembeault in net for the Montreal Canadiens. Both him and Logan Thompson left game number 3. Thompson is playing here for the Capitals, but not facing really any pressure, as the Canadiens have only managed 5 shots on goal through the first almost 30 minutes of this game. Meanwhile, Jakub Dobiš in net for the Canadiens, and he has faced 12 shots, has made 11 saves, as the Capitals just have a 1-0 lead over the Canadiens, but they are on the power play right now in Montreal, so we'll keep an eye on if they are able to score a second goal or not. NBA right now, let's keep hoping for no scoring from the Orlando Magic. Well, they are going to score some points. 44-37, the Celtics lead the Magic with 6 minutes to go in the first half. I will feel really good about this Magic team total to go under if I can get, and I don't know if I can, but if I can get 45 in the first half, I'll feel great about it going under. So that would mean only 8 more points for the Magic through the final 6 minutes of this half. That's ambitious. That's ambitious. Now, if they get 50, we might be okay. The defensive intensity might pick up in the second half. But again, under 95.5 is our best bet for this game. Speaking of NBA playoff best bets, right now, we have the VSiN Killer Sports NBA Playoff Challenge going on. We've invited 15 sharp minds from around the world of VSiN and Killer Sports to go head-to-head, making 38 picks each from the start of the playoffs all the way through the NBA Finals. That's a total of 570 NBA playoff picks, and you know what? They are all available to VSiN Pro subscribers. The picks are locked in 1 hour before the first game each day, so you'll have fresh insights to guide your bets every step of the postseason. And right now, you can get full VSiN Pro access through August 1st for just $59. Don't miss this playoff edge. Head to vsin.com/subscribe to sign up today. Let's get back into Major League Baseball. Coming up next, our very own Greg Peterson will join us on the program. Greg hosts the Baseball Betting Podcast here on VSiN, as well as a variety of programs, of course. And Greg will join us coming up next. I'm Scott Seidenberg, right here with you on Live Bet Sunday on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.